Good morning, everyone. I know you'll hardly believe this, but I was busy chatting. I know, yeah, who would have thought? Well, welcome to all of you on this spring day. We're grateful for the sunshine and grateful to see all of our friends here. You've all become very dear to us as we see you out and about in the community or even in one of our schools and at the activities. So thanks for your continued involvement in the Sioux Falls School District. Because I've done so much talking pre-start to the meeting, I'll now be quiet and introduce Dr. Brian Maher, our superintendent.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. What a beautiful day, and given the way the weather has been this spring, we don't know that it's always going to be beautiful. About the middle of January, we had a general administrators meeting, and I said to the group then, I said, my gosh, we haven't had a snow day yet this year. In fact, I haven't even had to get up and check the weather yet, and that was the middle of January. By the middle of April, we had 4 days, which tied us for at least a recent record in the number of days missed, and we had to add some days to the end of the year. So I'm not going to talk about how I haven't had to do anything like that in a while yet, because who knows what tomorrow will bring. But what a beautiful day it is today. I want to echo the same things that Deanne said in terms of we really appreciate your lifelong commitment to education, and maybe more so at this point, your continued commitment to education. We really appreciate your involvement in the school district and in what we do, and as part of our greater Gold Card membership, we really appreciate what you do for this district. As you know well, we passed a bond issue in September 18th as a matter of fact, and we passed it with a sizable amount of approval, with 85.46% approval of those who did vote. And I still say that that's an unprecedented amount, and until somebody proves me wrong, I'm going to continue with that. I've never heard of a bond issue passing to that degree. I think it speaks to our greater community because about a month or so after we passed our bond issue, Harrisburg passed a bond issue, and they passed it with an overwhelming majority as well, but it was a little less than what we passed ours. So I'm happy for Harrisburg, but I'm even happier that we passed ours by a larger margin. What that tells me is great things going on in the greater Sioux Falls area for education. What a great time to be in education, and what a great community in which to be a part of education. I want to close by saying we're 3 weeks away from the end of the year, yet another year. My 4th year here, and I know that I've been here a little while because I'm getting to recognize most of you as you come into these meetings. So I'll close much the way I started, and that's with a thank you. Thanks so much for your continued involvement. As a school system, as a community, we absolutely need your involvement. So thanks for being here today, and thanks for your continued support. I'll see you all again soon. I needed to pass the baton, and I didn't do that very well. I'm going to pass the baton to somebody that some of you in the room might know. She is in her 2nd year as a principal of John Harris Elementary. When I did start here, by the way, 4 years ago, I had some early days before I actually started where I got to come in and interview for a program we called intern program. As a matter of fact, I'm going to interview this afternoon for interns for next year. And I believe the very first interview we had that day was Kirsten Dauberpool, who at that time was a teacher at Hayward?
Instructional coach.
Instructional coach. And this positivity that came through in this interview was like, she can't really be like that all the time. We moved her from an instructional coach to an intern, and just a couple years later moved her from an intern to a principal. She is truly a shining star in our district. I would say that even if her mother and father weren't in the room. But her administrative star in this district is just beginning to rise. So it's truly my pleasure to introduce to you the principal of John Harris, Kirsten Davenport.
Welcome. I am so excited that you guys are here this morning. You are in for a treat. Mr. Dixon has done an amazing job in his last 24 years. He's been part of the gifted program, and 20 years he's been at John Harris. So this morning he has a lot of great things planned for you. But before we get started, I have thank yous. So behind the scenes, Melody's back here. She organizes this, sends out the invites, does the food, emails us like crazy. She does a great job. So Melody, thank you so much. And we started with Deanne, and Deanne also does a great job. She does all of our community relations, and we just appreciate her so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We also have Ann Smith. She's behind us, kind of oversees our gifted program, making sure that we have everything we need for resources. She's a great, great resource as well. And then we have Dr. Macadera, Sue Macadera over here as well, and she is in charge of curriculum at the elementary level. So she plays a big part in that as well. So thank you three very, very much. And with me I have my assistant. This is Mrs. Walden. She has been with us for 3 years at John Harris, and she is leaving me this year. She is headed to LBA and Hawthorne as the new assistant over there. So I will be interviewing this afternoon to replace her, but she runs the building. I think kind of showed me the way and kept me in line, but she's a great, great resource here at John Harris. As usual, thank you. We're a great team. A little bit about John Harris. We have around 680 students. We also have a preschool program that runs 4 days a week. About 17 kids in that one. Miss Molly runs that program. It's a great, great program we have here. We also, if you look around the room, the other thing John Harris stands for are these flags. So if you take a look around the room, most of these flags were sewn by Shirley Stevens, who's right here in this room. What the kids do is in 5th grade, they have an opportunity to design a flag based on the theme of the year. So this year our theme was Hand in Hand We Learn. And the flag is the blue one in the back, the 2 hands with the multiplication, plus sign, division, and subtraction. And so the kids design it, and then we vote on the top 5, and then it comes to a staff vote, and the staff pick. And then we hand it over to Shirley. Shirley sews it. We get a plaque made, and we have a huge event for the parents and the student that designed it. And it's just a great opportunity. So the flags stay. And since then, we've started to move flags over into our gym, but it's just a great, long-standing tradition we've had at John Harris. So, with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dixon, and I hope you have a great morning full of teamwork, collaboration, and communication, and have fun.
Well, thanks, Ms. Dowdpool, for the introduction. First off, I'm a little more comfortable speaking in front of children than adults, so bear with me. I like to, and this is not about me, but I have to tell a quick story. I like to tell this. When I became a teacher, when I failed the psychological test to become a police officer. And it's kind of true. I always wanted to be a police officer, and I flew through everything, passed everything, and I got a letter in the mail saying I didn't make it, that my psychological profile didn't match up to what they're looking for. So I called up the psychologist, Ernie Skidmore was his name, maybe you've heard that name. I said, I could email, we didn't have email back then. So I called him up, got a hold of him, finally we touched base. He said, Jeff, he said, right now the police department is looking for a more gun-ho aggressive, police officers. He said, your profile says you should be working with kids. I said, all right, fair enough. So I went back. I was working at JDC and Charter Psychiatric Hospital and wanted to do something a little different with kids. So I went back and as a non-traditional student, I got my teaching degree. And at that time, they didn't have didn't have a lot of openings 24 years ago. And I got a call and said, are you interested in a half-time Yulee position? I said, I'll take it. I didn't even know what Yulee was. That's absolutely true, but they told me just get in the district, and once you get in, then you can find your niche. Well, I found my niche from day one. This is what I do. I love it. Yulee is kind of the affectionate name for our gifted program, so you'll kind of hear me refer to that sometimes. But this is all I've ever done. I've been here 20 years, love it. Wouldn't want to do anything else. So what I'm going to do today is just take you through a little bit about gifted programs in Sioux Falls, kind of what we offer. I'll spend a little more time on elementary, and then have a little surprise for you at the end. So, dinner? There are muffins back there if you're interested.
Fred,
no.
psychological evaluation.
There you go. All right. Sioux Falls School District gifted programs. Just kind of our mission statement here. The Sioux Falls Elementary Gifted Program is designed to respond to the needs and special characteristics of gifted students by providing the opportunity for them to pursue and develop their potential for excellence. Identification for the gifted program uses a matrix that incorporates standardized test data to identify students. Identification can be initiated by parents, by students themselves, by teachers, or by administrators in our district. The purpose of the assessment and identification is to find those students who, because of their unique abilities, are in need of differentiated educational opportunities, not currently part of the regular curriculum. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in another slide. I'll talk about something else too, about having the opportunity for gifted students to have the opportunity to be with other like minds and how important that is. And I'll refer to that later when I touch base on another slide. Now, I'm not just going to have a lot of information up here for you. I'm going to show you some student work and some things, so it'll be a little more entertaining than just reading some words on a screen. And one of those is right here. This is an engineering project that has to do with circuitry as well. And students designed something. This is a short little clip. Go ahead, Jen. Where if you push a button and you have to get these candy dispensers to dispense certain kinds of candy. And so there's circuits they had to create where if you do this, then this happens, and then this, and so you had to organize and arrange all these circuits. It's kind of an engineering activity. A big focus this second half of this semester has been architecture and engineering, so a lot of what I'll show you is from that. Okay. Click the next slide. Yep. All right, here's, some of you might be familiar with Rube Goldberg cartoons from past. Students weren't familiar, but were able to watch some cartoons. And part of the engineering, we did a little invention, a short little invention thing with that. And students had to make a Rube Goldberg kind of chain reaction machine. And they had to be, the problem solving creativity and collaboration with this was incredible. I didn't realize how much, just the precision that's involved in those Rube Goldberg machines, those chain reaction machines where something happens and then this lifts and this falls and this drops. It was really incredible to see the problem solving involved because it just doesn't work out like you plan it to work out. So they had to constantly reinvent themselves and sketch and talk and go home and think about it and come back the next day and try some different things. So here's one of our Rube Goldberg chain reaction machines. It is in slow motion because it's much better viewed in slow motion. So. just a little bit excited, as you can tell. It worked. Yeah, again, it's just trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. But the perseverance and the problem solving and the collaboration involved was outstanding. I mean, they just had to work and talk and listen and question and try something and make a little adjustments. And love doing this. Here's another. It's different, but it's the same thing. A Rube Goldberg chain reaction. Drama right here. Drama. Yes. Thank you. All right. In the Sioux Falls School District, we have 23,000 now. I don't know the exact number. 24,000 gloriously unique students. And here's kind of that bell curve. It's more like a hill curve, but that kind of goes through some of that. You know, the large majority of our students are ready for content objectives at that grade level. They come to school, second grade, third grade, fourth, they're ready. Teachers do a fantastic job. We have a small number of students who need some differentiation at both ends. We need a little more help, a little more assistance, differentiation, a little more modification to try and bring them up to grade level. And then on the right side, we have some students who are ready to go beyond content objectives. They're able to get through things quickly. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. And so that's kind of what the gifted program offers. And I'll tell you more about the different programs Sioux Falls has for gifted students. But that's kind of something that we go on right there, that we kind of need differentiation for our high ability students who can quickly master objectives and content at grade level. If you have any questions too, go ahead and fire away if you need to.
Mr. Dixner, do you still need?
There's one more, but I don't need to. We did for math, we spent a little time on geometry. And we do something with the circle drawing compasses and protractors for measuring angles with the straight edge and a pencil. And just with those three tools, students, and we covered dozens of geometry concepts from radius to diameter, perimeter, circumference, bisecting angles, measuring angles, transferring angles, rays, segments, equilateral triangles. So we spend time learning and working with our compass and our protractor, and then using those skills to make geometric shapes and using those geometric concepts, they're able to create some fascinating drawings. I've got my wall covered with them down in my room if you want to see more. But I pulled just a few out of here. This was the old time tunnel, and this young girl erased a little bit and did it so it kind of looks like it's weaving over, under, and it kind of looks like a time tunnel, like you could walk back into it. Here's another one. I love the one, that's a 12-sided shape on the right side. On the left side, they have a design challenge where I had a three-dimensional model that looked like that, and they had to try and redo that, to draw that three-dimensional. And it took them a little bit. It was a challenge. They had to make equilateral triangles, make two of them inverted, so you've got like a 6-point star. You had to get some symmetrical lines drawn. You had to bisect some of those angles. But I didn't tell them any of this. They just saw that, and using the skills that we had taught them, they had to try and replicate that three-dimensional cube. It looks like if you're down in the black that you could step up on that little box that's tucked away in that corner. It took them a while. And they struggled a little bit with that. They were challenged with that, but they got through it. They did it. And I'm still working on mine. I haven't quite figured out how to do it. But they flew through it. They were awesome. So that's a couple of things we did for our geometry unit. We did inventions, we did geometry for math. We're doing a little bit of engineering right now, and kind of our focus is bridges. So students have been learning about what makes bridges strong, tension and the compression, looking at various styles of bridges. And then we have bridge building challenges where they have to build different kinds of bridges, certain spans, hold up a certain amount of weight, using certain numbers of supplies. So this is a nice arch bridge on the right and a truss bridge on the left. The triangles in there, what makes that very strong, and that truss bridge on the left.
Is that toothpicks?
It's plastic pieces, good question. It's plastic pieces called Knex, K-N-E-X, and we have special bridge building Knex sets, and you can connect them. There's different length rods, and there's numerous different kinds of connectors, and you just snap the rod in. And all of that is just done with learning the styles of the bridges, and they had to create those on their own. They weren't looking at a truss bridge and then just replicating that. We learned what truss bridges do, what beam bridges do, what suspension bridges do, what arch bridges do, how they work, how are they strong, what are they designed for. If it's a walking bridge over a river, what kind of bridge does it need to be? If it's spanning 1,000 feet over a big gorge somewhere, what kind of bridge does that need to be? How is it strong? And then they made those models and took on those challenges of holding up a certain amount of weight, using just a certain number of pieces, having enough between the spans. They had to have a little space between the spans. They had to be so high. So, I can hit it. This is a short little video clip. Sometimes people will say, what's the difference between a bright child and a gifted child? I'm glad you asked. This short little video, just a couple 2-minute clip, will give you a little introduction to that, and then I have a little more information about that on the next slide. So thank you. There you go. Hands off.
Hi, we're Daniel, Kevin,
And Megan, all from Lethbridge in sunny southern Alberta, Canada.
welcome to another 2-minute PD.
Volume good?
How many of you have had this sort of student in your class?
Tell me, what would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood? How would you look if I asked you to find me a bezel? And what is the difference between monk's hood and wolf?
This can be frustrating for both students and teachers. Gifted students can be a challenge.
That is the second time you've spoken out of turn, Miss Granger. Are you incapable of restraining yourself, or do you take pride in being an insufferable note?
Today, we're going to talk about the first step in helping your student who is gifted. How can you tell the difference between students who are bright and students who are gifted?
This is important because in order to help all of our students achieve their maximum potential, we must first know their needs. This means understanding these two types of learners and the differences between them. What will help a student who is gifted might hinder and take things too far for a student who is bright or talented. So let's look at what the difference is between a student who is bright and a student who is gifted.
A key aspect to remember is a student who is bright answers the question. A student who is gifted questions the answer.
A student who is bright learns the concepts with ease. A student who is gifted already knows the concepts.
A student who is bright enjoys their peers. A student who is gifted prefers the company of adults or older children.
A student who is bright is pleased with their own work. A student who is gifted will always criticize their work.
A student who is bright works and studies hard. A student who is gifted can play or goof around but tests very well.
Thanks for watching our 2-minute PD.
I love that bright child answers a question, gifted child questions the answers. After we did some geometry, we've been doing a little bit with probability, and just a week or two ago, I put the probability scale up, and we were talking about that, coming up with examples. The whole impossible, less likely, 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 certain, the scale of probability. And had a student right away, Mr. Dixon, nothing is really certain. And then right away another student, well, I don't know if anything's really impossible either. And those unscripted moments is what this learning is all about. That's one of those, put the lesson plan book over here for a little bit. And well, what do you mean by that? And the discussion and the questions that come out of that are fantastic. And that's what, thinking with like minds and giving gifted kids that opportunity in smaller groups to discuss those things is fantastic. And those, the learning that comes out of that, it's wonderful that we can learn a theoretical probability scale and talk about examples and do some things with coins and dice but just to talk about, well, what do you mean that nothing is really certain? Is nothing really impossible? The learning that is involved in that is fantastic, and that's honestly probably one of maybe the best part of my job is just facilitating. And I like to say I'm not even as much of a teacher as I am at times just a facilitator, because they love to just go and do, and I guide those discussions, but I don't necessarily ask all the questions and answer all the questions. I let them go. And I like to just say I'm facilitating and guiding that. But those are the wonderful, unscripted things that can come up in a gifted classroom. And that doesn't mean it happens all over the school district. I know that as well. But all teachers just love that when those kind of things come up in the classroom. So a few characteristics. Some of this was covered. Bright child knows the answers. Gifted child asks the questions. Bright child needs about 6 to 8 reps. If you're teaching double-digit multiplication, they're going to need several repetitions to really learn that skill. A gifted child is going to have that fairly quickly. Bright child enjoys peers. Gifted child often prefers adults. I had a mom stop in one time and said, I have a funny story for you. She said, we had some friends over, some adults, and we were up in the living room. We're having dinner and talking. I went in, and all the kids were down in the basement playing, and I went into the kitchen to get something, and I kind of peeked around the corner, and my daughter was lying on the steps with her head kind of peeking around the corner, listening to our conversation that we were having in the living room. She didn't want to be downstairs playing. Why do you think that was? Why did she eschew, if that's the right word, her friends, to sneak up the stairs and lie and listen to what her mom and dad and the adults were talking about? Why are they doing that? Why would she want to listen? Conversation that adults are having it's challenging for her. She wants to listen to that. She wants to hear the adult words, the adult conversations, the adult topics. She's more interested in that than playing down the basement with her peers. That conversation is interesting to her. That's why she snuck up the stairs and didn't want her mom and dad to know, but she wanted to listen in on that conversation. So, bright child's pleased with their own learning. Gifted child can often be self-critical, perfectionists with their learning. That can cause them some problems. Sometimes they're just never satisfied with what they've done. Bright child's in the top group, gifted child is beyond the top group. Bright child's good at memorizing, gifted child's good at guessing. Bright child's interested, gifted child's highly curious. Bright child enjoys school, gifted child enjoys learning. Bright child is receptive, gifted child is intense. I had a boy many years ago named Josh, and we were dissecting owl pellets. And an owl pellet is something that an owl spits out that it cannot digest. It's the bones, fur, and feathers from small animals that it's eaten, rodents and small birds. And we were dissecting those pellets. We were identifying the bones, what part of the body they came from, the animal that the bones are from, and then they were reassembling those skeletons into two-dimensional models, and some of them, if they wanted to, could try and create a three-dimensional model of that animal. And it was getting near the end of class time, and I had a little boy, Josh. We were cleaning up, putting stuff away, and I'm going to pick up the next time we met. And kids are kind of done, it's about time to go, and I looked over here, and Josh was still working. And I went up, Josh, buddy, and I kind of tapped his shoulder. It just flew back. I said, it's time to go, buddy, we can finish next time. He was so intense with what he was doing. The walls could have been falling down around him, he wouldn't have known. I mean, he was just pouring everything into every single bone, and identifying every one and getting the skeleton planned out. So that's that intensity that gifted kids can have. Elementary programs. We have a pull-out program where students meet a couple times a week in their home school with peers for math and science focused curriculum, and most students stay in their home school. We also have over at Robert Frost Challenge Center. It's kind of a school within a school. There are 7 classrooms, and students must have the top 5% of our standardized test scores to qualify for that Challenge Center. And students have the choice, if they do qualify, to stay in their home building or go to Robert Frost Challenge Center, where they can take part in classroom with all gifted kids. And they kind of stay in the content areas with their peers in that classroom. And then lunch, recess, band, orchestra, they're with the other students in the building. But kind of the main content areas, they're with gifted kids in the classroom. Middle school programs offer various gifted educational services, quite similar to what we have in the pull-out program at the elementary level. We do over at Edison now for just a few years now, 4 years, 5 years, have offered our honors program where students can be, it's kind of like the middle school challenge center, where students can be in those 4 core content areas, math, science, reading, language arts with other gifted kids. And then they're with other students over at Edison the rest of the school day for some of their electives, band, orchestra, some of those activities. So that's what middle school offers. Here was kind of hard to see. We did some, part of the architecture and engineering unit, we did some measuring, scaling down. It's kind of hard to see, I apologize for that. We did some measuring of rooms and scaling them down and putting that model. They had to represent that room on graph paper, scaled down exactly how it is, exactly how the room is laid out, the windows, doors, and everything. So that was a good challenge. Here's a scale model of a house that they took from blueprints, and they had to scale and transition the fractions and get down to building a scale model of a house, and that's foam board that they used to construct that. Here's a fun one. On my own. Okay. We do computer programming and coding every year, and this is a fun activity. This is a dance party, and the young student that did that created everything on the left-hand side, all the dancers, arranged the music, lights, the background dancers, and everything on the right-hand side, you can't really see specifically, but you can see all the lines of code that they had to create to make this little dance party, about a 30-second clip. So all the movement, all the lights, the patterns, everything behind the background dancers, everything that the dancers are doing. This is not the activity I'm going to have you do today. So. They love that. Okay, come to the end of my presentation here. Program benefits. We've done some work this year, elementary teachers. John Hattie is a researcher who compiled, did an analysis of hundreds of studies of education and what's effective and what isn't so effective. And he used terms called effect size to show that this works. He's talking about instruction and class sizes and everything that you can think about having to do with education. He had he had a small area with gifted education that he analyzed research on the effectiveness of gifted education. And he showed with high effect size that pull-out programs like we have in the elementary, the enrichment, work, that our challenge center works, and that accelerating, having students accelerate through curriculum is also an effective strategy. NAGC, National Association of Gifted Children.org, is our national organization. There's information on all kinds of information. If you ever want to know any more about gifted programs or gifted kids or what's happening nationwide with gifted kids, that's a good website to go to. There's information there about research and how effective gifted programs can be. I'm not going to share numbers and all that data. It's there if you want to see it. I want to share a few short stories with you on how I believe the program benefits kids. When I have a mom stop me outside when I'm on duty and say my son couldn't wait to get to school today. He got up and said it's a Yulee day. Okay? That's how I know the program works. When I have a dad stop me and say, my daughter has loved school this year, loves it, but those 2 Yulee days, she really loves those Yulee days, really loves coming to class. When we have a little boy who's in the emergency room and spends the night in ER, and his mom and dad take him home in the morning, and he says, I need to go to Yulee class. And he has his parents bring him to that class in the morning. And as soon as class is over, he goes home and crashes. But he had to go to this class. He needed that. He needed that time with like minds to think, to collaborate, to problem solve, to question, to laugh with like minds. It's so crucial. I had 3 students at a private school who came over. They were dual enrolled, so they would come over for classes, and they'd stay at the private school otherwise. They showed up one day and had shorts and t-shirts on. I said to them, you guys don't have your school uniform today. They said, oh, we don't have school today. I said, oh, okay. I said, wait a minute, you don't have school today? They said, oh yeah, but we wanted to be here. We had our moms drive us over to Yulee class on their day off. I thought it was casual Fridays over there, but it wasn't. They needed to be with those like minds, doing activities. They wanted to be here. They had their moms bring them over on the day off. They didn't have school. And then there's my young friend. he used to, many, many years ago, we'll call him Dave. Dave was a little boy who cried every day he came to school. I talked to Dave's dad, talked with his teacher, we got together, and we said we should probably test this young guy. We did the testing for giftedness with him, and he blew it out of the water. Brilliant, highly gifted young man. He needed more. He finished second grade here and came to the pull-out program. And then third, fourth, and fifth, he went over to our challenge center. I would run into his dad not long after we identified him. And he would come up to me, Jeff. I said, how's Dave doing? He said, he's flourishing. He loves it. He loves school. He's happy. He talks about the work he's doing. And I said, awesome. Tell him hi for him. From time to time, we would run into each other. Every time he would come up. Jeff, thank you. And he would fill me in on his son. Taking advanced classes in middle school, loving school. He's doing the school play. AP classes, taking 4 AP classes this semester. He's flourishing, straight A's. Graduated with honors. I ran into him sometime last year. And we approached each other, and he had a smile on his face, and you could see the pride in his eyes. He said, guess what, Jim? My son just graduated from medical school. He's now a doctor. I think I gave him a half a man hug and said, tell him congratulations. Tell him I'm proud. Okay? That's how I know gifted programs work. That's the benefits. That's all I had in my presentation. I have something else to do. Are there any questions?
How much of the instruction that you do would you say is hands-on learning versus computer learning? And have you seen with the advent of technology, have you seen that learning change over time?
Good question. We do incorporate more technology. What we do, I like to tell, when we identify a parent and we sit down, or identify a parent, we identify a student, and I'm sitting down with parents, talking about the program, getting their consent. I'll always say this, I said, I spend very little time up at my whiteboard talking. I said, I want them doing things. And with the advent of iPads, computers, and technology, we try and incorporate that, but I don't want just screen time, where they come in and get on an iPad and I'm just walking around supervising. You know, even with the computer programming and coding, gifted kids like choices and options, so I don't say you have to code dance party today. But here's some coding options. I want you to do some coding. We'll do some sharing with what we've done. So, and we'll do it, you know, in spurts. I'm not going to spend 8 weeks with just having them sit in front of a computer screen. I think it's going to be too easy for teachers to do that. And to be honest, kids building with these bridges with the connects, they still love this hands-on learning. They love that stuff, like the compass drawings, and so that's a good question.
What does the nickname Yulee stand for?
I'm sorry, unique learning experiences. Unique learning experiences. I should have said that in the beginning, yeah. That's kind of the affectionate term. It was the name of the program for many, many years. It's kind of the affectionate name that we kind of still refer to it as. But
600 plus students in the building. What's the number in the gifted program approximately? I mean, in this building.
Yep. 40, maybe? 40? Yeah.
would that hold true for all buildings? That percentage roughly?
I don't know the percentages, to be honest with you. Different buildings have different percentiles. I don't know, some buildings have more, some have less. Yeah.
You identify the students in second grade, is that right?
Yeah, we start pretty much testing in second grade. We'll start doing some testing in first grade for parents who are interested in the Challenge Center, that program at Robert Frost, a school within a school that starts in second grade. They can start going over there. So we'll start looking at some kids in first grade for that program.
And once they're in the program, they continue in the program?
Great question, yep.
And can you add kids or?
Yep, we test all year round. Yep, and we don't retest. If I identify you as a gifted child, you're a gifted child, and I can equate it to a gifted artist is not going to wake up tomorrow and not be a gifted artist. A gifted musician is a gifted musician. A gifted athlete is a gifted athlete. If you're gifted academically, if you have that high ability, we don't retest. You have that, and it's our job in the district to help you nurture that. So, yeah.
How long have we had this program?
Okay. I want to say the 70s.
I'm sure. Yeah, long time.
Yeah. There was kind of a push for gifted education when the Russians put, I think, Sputnik up. There was a large push in the 60s for gifted programs.
It used to be mandated just like, and it was actually part of special education.
Okay.
But then the law changed several years ago. And Sioux Falls, I think we can be proud of the fact that we have maintained our gifted program because we recognize how good it is for kids. Some districts, when the law changed, then dropped their gifted program.
Yeah, 1995 or 1996, I believe that was. And the state took away matching funds for that. And I agree with you. I'm proud of Sioux Falls for standing up and for the gifted kids and funding the program. There are some districts, but most districts in the state don't have programming for gifted kids. There's my fourth grade right back there. Did you get a donut or a muffin? Coffee cake? Yeah, if you guys grab something quick, I'm going to put you to work in a minute. All right. Well, thank you. I have one thing before you go. I'm going to have you do. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate your interest in the gifted programs in Sioux Falls. And so thanks for being here. I'm happy to talk to you today. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to have you partake in one of the activities I did to kind of start our engineering unit. And you don't have to get up. We'll do it right on the tables. I'm going to have my kids come, and they're going to kind of teach you and lead you in this activity. So we can kind of maybe just go by tables. If you want to split, we can go groups of two if you want. I'll leave it up to you. What I'm going to do to kind of first introduce our bridge, our engineering unit, I did a short activity where students had to build a bridge. And all I gave them to build that bridge was a piece of paper. Okay? And they have to hold up as many pennies as they can with that piece of paper. And as you can imagine, it's going to be a little challenging maybe to do that when you think about a piece of paper holding up pennies. But I want you to brainstorm a little bit. We're going to do that activity right at your tables here. I'm going to get materials right there. And then we'll get going. So, okay. Fourth graders, you ready? Oh, you got to finish eating?
We'll do a couple for us to learn about, and is knowledgeable about the district in so many different ways. And so as a group that probably has received information from her for several years, I hope you'll join me in congratulating her on her retirement. So. Thank you very much. This has been a great group to get to know, and I do recognize so many faces, neighbors, and yeah, maybe she'll come back when she turns 60. You have to be 60 to be qualified. So in June, that's what's happening. So, thank you so much for supporting this and everything else we do. So.
All right. So, fourth graders, come on up. These are fourth graders we have here at John Harris. What they're going to do is kind of facilitate. They're going to be your teachers. They're going to ask you some questions, help you along. So what we'll do is that each group's going to have 6 wooden blocks. You'll stack 3 blocks up, 3 blocks up. You're going to lay a piece of paper down on there, and you have to hold up as many pennies as you can with that piece of paper. I did use paper destined for the recycler, so we're not going to waste paper. So don't pay any attention to any of the words on here. It's what are you going to do with this piece of paper? How can you be creative? How can you problem solve? How can you make this stronger so that you can hold up as many pennies as you can? Paper is very weak in what force? Louder. Compression. Very weak in compression. Much stronger in tension, but very weak in compression. So what are you going to do to hold up as many pennies as you can? Try it, fix it, improve it, problem solve, get better. They will lead you through. If you drop any pennies on the floor, they're going to pick them up. You don't have to bend over and get them. All right? So go ahead, each of you a couple at a table and take 6 blocks with you. You can get in whatever groups you want. If you want to split into 2 groups here and try this activity. We'll take 10 minutes with this. It won't take very long. You don't have to do it either. You're allowed to do anything you want to the paper. There's no tape. You can rip it, hold it. You want to do a group right here with you two? Let's do that.
But we can't do these.
You got to be 8 inches apart. How are you going to hold up those pennies? Go ahead and measure that. Thank you.
Those are the measures.
Oh, there they are.
Say again? Is it right? Is it both? Is it the same here as it is here? Did you measure? That's so cool. I know. Say again? Well, okay, so let's put the pennies and go where we want. Right. Before you put the pennies, but then like, can we use the pennies here? Okay, so let's put the pennies right here. How about, we need to somehow pass this should be you think you know it's going to unravel? She's giving us Have you tried this before? And this one's a correct? Yeah, it's 2 parts of it. So now the only ones that count are those that get to put in the middle. That's what I was I don't play well. Very nice and new. Push it out like this. You can't do that.
8-inch frames. The only supports are 8 inches apart.
Say again?
Yeah, just sand and then expanding.
Sure.
Right. But yours is going to be 8 inches. We got nothing to go underneath the hole.
So you can't touch it from underneath.
That's
Okay.
That was a good job.
How far is it?
Oops. Can I see how much weight it's got under it?
Really?
Nothing touched the bottom at all.
What do you think is better?
Can you move it in? Yes? 8 inches. I thought you said 9.
I want to see how heavy it is.
Well, now that's a good idea. Really good idea.
She's shaking her head no. She's saying let's try it.
She says this isn't going to work. I would have liked to have put some up and down pivots, maybe something to
Yeah.
that direction. That's why we're checking.
This is an actual bridge that the cars are going to
Right, yeah, there's no people on top of it. It's underneath.
It's a tunnel, we have to drive around. Yeah.
That's really good. Now, so we know the holding strategy. Now, we saw one position so far. What's like,
I think if we get
what's
towards
another
the
way to
middle,
make
it's
try
going
and
to
make a
drop.
strong
So
hold
if you
out?
put them on top, put them on the edge.
Put them on the end. Yeah. Start this end first. I didn't think they were everything was probably up on the line. We think we reached maximum, should we just stop? Oh, we should keep going till it falls?
Look at you.
So you want it to fall?
That's okay, they'll pick them up.
I told her she didn't have a lot to pick up, just was adding more and more.
Oh, you got this, 200 pennies.
Oh, it's
If
two?
I
I
counted
thought
right.
it was only 100.
No, if I counted right.
See, I had 200
I can't count that high, so I can't estimate this.
Ran out of your fingers.
Exactly. But
You know what, if we maybe would have had a 5, you know, instead of just random, if we had more structure at the end.
I think we should have planned. And there's
Good grades.
Say again?
how far we have to go here. Don't breathe on.
Yeah. Yeah, so then maybe,
So far, all I remember for sure is they are Carter and Z.
what was the answer?
She said I'm smart.
That's true. Good job.
And we were very lucky.
What can you do to
If you put it back up this way, is there another way you can flip it?
I'd have to pray.
So are you guys ready? You all put it in each other?
You need to try not, but you know, it's different at the keys on the same.
Okay.
You want me to press? You work together. If we want to try another way, I'm sure it's better that way. I was pressed by luck. She asked me how I could put there in the middle. I told her I had to pray.
how'd you guys do? You didn't really fold it. What'd you do?
I just rolled it in two.
We made
Rolled up in two.
Kind of spread it. I wanted to fold it, but it was too short to put in. So then we just started putting them in each end to see what we could do with the
Did you guys start putting them in the middle?
No.
Oh, you were strategic on how you placed them.
We put a few in each end and then split them. And stack.
Yeah, they're just kind of.
So like, do these pennies count that are supporting that? You see how they have pennies on here? Like, I wonder if those. Like, I feel like those pennies don't. I feel like those pennies don't count because they're touching the bricks. What do you think? True, I know.
But they're combined with the board. And you didn't tell us things.
I wonder if you could ask them if they could fold it a different way to see if they can't touch the brick. Try, see if they can. Yeah.
Let's try that.
Push them in and let's see how.
But we gotta push them both in.
teamwork. Is that how you guys solve?
Let's just say what we can't. We want to all inside the.
Well, that's not.
Inside of this, like, because I measured it down. I think it takes a measure.
Trying to help them.
Well, once we get them past here, then.
Is that right?
Oh, it's semi. It's
How's it going?
She said that not the She just keeps growing.
She does.
Well, I think they're kind of long enough to get it past the board. Bring it past the board.
I'm found.
Are they all off?
No, there's one laying.
I guess you could pull that one, push the bricks a little bit.
You always have to do that. They might think of that for your next one. Why is it laying down?
It's not a
I need to push. My finger's not long enough to push them off the board.
There's no way to measure.
You told me she didn't try fingers. Keep me off the board.
Now they're all.
Now they're all out.
Now what are you going to tell us?
Well, we did it and didn't drop anything, and then she wanted all of our pennies off the board support. So we did that.
Really? I like it. Seriously.
They asked me if
Wow.
I could do more, and I said, she said, how would you make it do more? I said, I'd have to pray more. And I have religion and so I guess that was. And we started each end and just then they wanted us in for her. Yeah. Oh, very, and I wanted to, my finger wasn't short enough, and she said, no more tools. Only use what I gave her. Yeah, I said, well, I should have brought my longer finger. There you go.
What? Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Oh my gosh! Everybody did something different.
That's gonna get it all. Got a couple minutes. Couple minutes.
I'm thinking if we go this way, we'd have more support. But you don't want.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
But we can't do just 4 sites, we have to do 5.
How many did you get in there?
There you go. Call it 200.
Why can't you do They have a place.
Maybe you don't, you missed a number.
We got 2 more, we got 2 more.
All right, everybody.
You guys are
All right.
but we wouldn't have thought of that when you guys did. But maybe.
4th graders, could you gather up
You're good to
the pennies? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a little hand for our 4th grade students here? All right, I think your teachers would love to have you back in class, so thank you very much for helping.
No, are these Yulee kids?
These are my Yulee students, yeah. 4th grade. All right. Thank you very much again for your interest in the program and for being here today. I know if any of you have coin jars at home where you kind of keep your spare change, you may be thinking of cashing them out at the bank. I know for a fact First Premier Bank is short on pennies right now. So get them over there. Anything else before we go? Thank you. Appreciate it.